Hi, I'm Bob Hoover, book editor of the Post-Gazette, and today in the Post-Gazette studios we have Anne Sanow, who is this year's winner of the Drue Heinz Prize for Literature, which is juried by the University of Pittsburgh Press. So Anne, welcome to Pittsburgh.
Thank you.
And tell us how you learned about this prize.
I think that I actually don't know, I can't remember when I didn't know about the prize. I have been a short story writer for many years, and when you're young and just starting out and trying to even complete a coherent story, you look up to people who have done so. And their books in this series and the Flannery O'Connor series were the ones I would look to say, oh, here are short story writers kind of upholding an American tradition and putting their books out this way. So when I finally had a collection together, it was a very natural choice for me to enter the contest, although you never expect.
Sure.
Yeah.
And your collection of stories, and there are 7 stories in your book, which is called Triple Time, and it's just been published by the Pitt Press. They all take place in what we now call Saudi Arabia.
Right.
Tell us, what your connection is with that part of the world, and why you decided to set all your stories there.
I did live in Saudi Arabia. Right after my high school graduation, I moved from Sunnyvale, California to Riyadh, which is not what most people do.
Right, no.
Some of I was interested in writing about my experience, but I've always been a fiction writer. I like to make things up. Some of the stories are about young expatriates.
Yes.
But I'm very interested in history, and as I continued the work on this book, I did a lot of research, everything from reading Wilfred Thesiger, The Old Explorers, to looking at current newspaper articles about how the country has changed, finding out how a Bedouin would live, what kinds of food you would eat in the desert and so on.
Yes.
So that's where I got interested in the historical sweep. I just wanted to do more than write about something that was close to me. I like to get underneath it and in this way investigate a culture as I was writing stories about it.
Right, and as you said, a lot of the stories describe what an American, and in several cases young Americans, what kind of life they are living and how they stand kind of outside the culture, right, while trying to be part of it as well. Although in several stories, particularly Date Farm, which is a story which we'll be excerpting on our Post-Gazette Plus website starting later today, the characters, including the young woman, don't seem to engage that much with the Saudis.
Right. That's the first story I wrote for the book, and the one possibly closest to my experience. And I did that story and thought, what should I do? Keep writing the same stories? So yes. I didn't want to do that. As a writer, you want to challenge, you want to try different voices, different styles.
Yes.
And that's where I started asking questions, often just what if? What if a young expatriate woman didn't know how to live somewhere else? So I got to another character, Kimberly. She stays.
Right.
Starting from there. And then it got even sort of deeper. I have my Gus, the World War II pilot,
correct,
comes in. He doesn't leave at all. And in fact, has kind of a classic desert adventure. So, I started from what seemed, to be the typical experience and kind of pushed it farther from there.
And over what period of time were these stories written?
Let's see. Well, if we count the ones I threw away that never got into the book, 10 years ago. But
yes.
The first one I finished that I liked was Date Farm, and probably finished that in early 2002. And it was published later that year. And then the rest of them were finished over a period of time until about 2.5 years ago.
I see.
So, yeah.
And now you live on Cape Cod,
right,
rather than on the Pacific coast.
Right.
And what do you do out there?
I live in Provincetown, at the very end of Cape Cod, and I came there as a fellow at the Fine Arts Work Center 6 years ago, and I kept coming back to the Cape and
right,
staying. It's a very interesting place with a lot of history, and especially the history of an arts and writing center.
Right.
So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I've just become pretty enmeshed in the town, and really love it.
And of course now we have news of the Norman Mailer
Colony.
Center,
Yes.
which is, I guess, turning his house into
Colony.
Novel Writing
Yeah.
Center, and we would have been discussing Norman as a man who couldn't spell. But so, do you have any? Can you tell us a little bit about the Norman Mailer Center? Have you looked into it at all?
I actually went and spoke with some of the people who were, Lawrence Schiller, he's getting the center set up. A friend of mine, Salvatore Scabona, he actually blurbed this book. He's a novelist. He won their first their Norman Mailer Award.
Yeah.
I'm still involved with the Fine Arts Work Center, and the Norman Mailer Colony will be working together for some public events, and I'm sure that I'll get to know more people as they get it going. So it's a great thing because the Fine Arts Work Center is really for very emerging artists, and the Norman Mailer Colony is maybe the next step. So it's very complementary to what's happening in town. Yeah, it enhances what's going on.
And do you intend to pursue a short story career, or do you want to extend yourself to a longer form?
Both. I'm actually, I think, a short story writer imposter, because if you've looked at this, none of them are very short. The shortest stories in type are 20 pages. So in manuscript, these are 30-page stories. Sort of difficult to get some of them published, in journals, because they cut off at 5,000 words. I am working on a novel now, but also some more stories. They're getting even longer. I have a short story that is sort of New England setting, historical. The draft is around 40 pages now. So I'm trying to push that short story form into something longer. It's a place I feel comfortable, and I think that readers can sort of dive into and get more out of. Yeah.
So now, Triple Time is your first published book?
Yes.
And what do you think, what kind of doors do you think might open because of the Heinz Prize?
It's been wonderful so far, because I've had some very nice invitations to drop by classrooms. I will be teaching in the low residency program at Carlow University here in January. I'm very excited about that. As a fiction writer, you do need a book out to really get to teach what you love. That's just sort of basic. And I love working with students. I've been visiting some undergraduate classes. They're great. They're just so engaged and a lot of fun. And I've been an adjunct instructor before, but it's something I definitely want to do some more of. Yeah.
Sure. I think with the the rise and almost permanence of the creative writing programs, that finally for students, particularly undergrads, to meet a successful writer probably is a confirmation that this is possible.
You can do this. They will, yes. Right. And I'm someone who will tell them how much work they have to do it.
Yeah, well, that may end the popularity of those classes. And so Anne will be reading tonight at the Frick Fine Arts Center in Oakland at 7:30. And joining Anne is the contest judge, novelist Ann Patchett, best known for her novel Bel Canto of a couple of years ago.
Which is amazing.
And so Patchett picked you out of more than 300 entries, so this is quite an honor as well.
Yeah.
So readers will get a chance to meet both of you tonight. The event is free, and there'll be a little reception afterwards, and you'll be able to meet both of the writers and meet Anne and get a copy of her book. So best of luck to you, Anne. It was great to meet you.
Thank you very much, Bob. It's wonderful to be here. Thanks.